All right, so good discussion on that one. So the other big story this week was regarding the TrueCrypt software, which is a disk file encryption software that a lot of people use. I guess it's open source too, I'm not really sure about it. What can you tell us about this one, Jim? Because I think you looked into this one a little bit more, right?
Yeah, I've been following this one, and on Friday I would have told you this was going to be the big story of the week, and now it got kind of overshadowed by our previous story. But the middle of last week, all of a sudden, the TrueCrypt website redirected to the SourceForge page, and up on their SourceForge page was this big warning: using TrueCrypt is not secure, as it may contain unfixed security issues. There was a new version of TrueCrypt posted on the SourceForge page that only decrypted existing TrueCrypt volumes, would not allow you to create new ones. And it was just a strange announcement. It said, TrueCrypt development ended after Microsoft terminated support for Windows XP, and suggested that you use BitLocker. There was just a lot of confusion in the community about what was going on. Did they get hacked? Did they know about some security vulnerability? Since then, we finally have heard from one of the developers. The developers for TrueCrypt have maintained anonymity. To this date, we don't know who they are. One of them goes by the name of David. He's the one that's been communicating a little bit. They've done a good job of hiding their identities. Basically, the way things look right now, it looks like the developers just got tired of working on it and essentially wanted to kill it off. They didn't think that forking it was a good idea because they didn't think anybody understood their code as well as they did. There's still an ongoing audit, and phase 1 of that had already ended, and phase 2 was about to begin. It is still going to go forward. There is some talk that a fork of this may continue development based out of Switzerland. One of the big reasons that TrueCrypt was such a big deal is that it was cross-platform. You could run TrueCrypt on Macs, on Linux, on every version of Windows, and you could move your encrypted file systems back and forth between them. Some of the alternatives that people have been talking about since this announcement last week, none of them are cross-platform. They talk about using BitLocker on Windows. Well, that's fine if you're running versions of Windows that support BitLocker. But for Windows 7, that was only Enterprise and Ultimate. And for Windows 8, I think it may be Professional and Ultimate, or whatever the highest level one is. But for the consumer versions of those, BitLocker is not an option. And BitLocker only works on Windows. If you're like me and you use Macs and Linux and Windows, you'd have to use a different type, different software package for encrypting on each one, and you can't easily move things back and forth. So, so TrueCrypt was, had a very important niche in the market, and it looks like there are some people who want to keep this going. So I suspect that we will see some new version of it going forward. The audit is going to continue, so we'll know if there are any security vulnerabilities in there, and if there are, I suspect that they'll get fixed. The name will probably change because the license was such that the old developers, maintain the rights to the name. But I think it's going to go forward. No, right now we don't know of any security vulnerabilities. The statement in there was such that if there's anything found in the future, the original authors were not going to maintain it. Steve Gibson over at Gibson Research has a nice summary of what we know at the moment. The link will be up with the show when it's posted. But if you're interested, you can read through it there. That's pretty much what we know about the whole TrueCrypt thing at this point.
Well, it's a bit of a thankless job. I think the software was great and the code was beautiful. I think it was actually a quote from that blog entry, Jim. it was free, it worked very well. I actually used the software. So it is a loss to see it go. And I see why you might be tired of kind of providing free software for 10 years, maintaining it, and then with the code audit coming up, maybe there wouldn't be major things, but maybe there would be a few bugs probably uncovered here or there they'd probably have to patch or
possibly
something.
just more aggravation than
Yeah.
it's worth for something that you're trying to just develop as something for the public community, you know?
Yes, but they actually, after the results of phase 1 of the audit came out, they were very supportive of it.
Okay.
In what they were, and they were in communication with the folks doing the audit. So it still is a little strange, the timing that they just suddenly did this with no kind of warning. But I'm not seeing anything nefarious about it, and I suspect that it will live on in some form. As I said, there's folks who've taken the version that's being audited, 7.1a, the last good version. It's been out there actually 2 years already, and are talking about continuing development in the future. They just need to find the guys that are good at crypto to continue developing it.
Okay, well, that's not unusual for somebody else to pick up where other people have left off on these open source, types of software development projects. So hopefully that'll happen, and it'll keep going strong, because it seems like a lot of people out there use it. I know a bunch of us around here have used TrueCrypt and find it to be a good tool. So.